Hi everybody, this is Blatant filling in for Feeder Noob who can't make it for this cast, and we're about to watch Team Liquid versus EG. So without any further ado, let's hop right to it. I'm already a little bit behind in terms of the bans and picks phases, so let me run right through it. So far for Team Liquid, we have Neek's Assassin, Shadow Demon, and Gyrocopter. Pretty normal lineup. Gyrocopter very versatile as a number 1 or number 2 position, so we're still not sure whether Team Liquid is going to pick a stronger carry than Gyro. Shadow Demon and Nyx, very popular supports, all very conventional stuff. On EG's part, Lifestealer, we've seen a Lifestealer in practically every defense game that he has not been banned out of. So not too much of a surprise to see him here. An Enigma, very conventional pick, and less Shrek, a little bit more flavorful, a little bit more colorful, but still entertaining. Good to see him here. So yeah, Lifestealer, less Shrek, Enigma versus Neeks, Shadow Demon, Gyrocopter so far. The bans, first round bans have been Keeper of the Light, Wisp. Those are totally conventional bans. Basically, those are two support heroes that if they're not banned will be picked, so it's very normal to see them banned. Bat Rider, also a normal one, and Puck, a little bit less conventional for the first round pick because you don't often see him as the first round ban. He's a very strong mid hero though, and he's very, very powerful in general, so it makes sense as a ban. In the second round bans, Tide Hunter for Team Liquid, wanting to cut down on basically the AoE that they don't have through Gyrocopter. Storm Spirit, cutting down a bit on EG's mobility. And Magnus. Magnus is a very normal first round ban. I wouldn't have been surprised to see him in place of Puck. But basically, he's there because he's got so much stun and so much kind of group clumping ability for team fights that he's just very difficult to deal with, especially when a professional player is doing good things with him. The rest of EG's bans are Darkseer, another one of the traditional first round bans or first round picks. Really strong because of his versatility. He can handle an off lane, he can go jungle with other supports, he can help gank. He's got the vacuum for sort of a similar Magnus type effect in terms of cutting things off, and he's just in general strong. And of course Clockwork, a little bit more of an unconventional ban on the part of EG, but he's been kind of climbing in the meta recently. After the stats buff that happened, maybe it was 2 months ago or so, Clockwork slowly started to climb in viability. He had always been just a little bit underpowered, but with a really neat skill set, and I think that basically after the stat change happened, the skill set has been able to shine now that he has a little bit stronger growth. Nature's Prophet is the last ban for EG, kind of trying to cut down on the push potential of Team Liquid and some of their mobility. Liquid's fourth pick, Enchantress. Now this is a really neat pick. I haven't seen much of Enchantress around lately. Of course, she's pretty strong as a roving support. She can pick up some creeps and do a less intense version of Chen's jumping out of the jungle with creeps with her. But the interesting thing about Enchantress is that Impetus scales really well into the late game. An Enchantress that has gotten a lot of farm gets really scary, plus she has even longer range than Sniper, or about, I think actually, if she has Aghanim Scepter, she has longer range than Sniper, but if she, even without it, she has comparable range, which can be pretty fearful. Still waiting on the fourth pick from EG. Scoot up and change my view here a little. Sorry guys if I'm not as smooth on the transitions. Usually Feeder's the one who's much better about doing these kinds of things. She's the technical person in the casting pair here. Bounty Hunter! Now this is genuinely interesting again. I'm glad that in the later stages of the defense, some of the kind of more boring and conventional play is being pushed back a little bit with slightly more creative picks. Of course, Bounty Hunter's familiar to pretty much anybody who plays Dota because he's just such a popular hero altogether, even after the slight nerfing to track. Of course, he's a roving invisible hero, and he gets those double damage things, so he can carry very strongly. Broodmother. Now, I'm gonna have to say, I'm honestly shocked. I've been arguing with Feeder and some of the other SWAT folks recently that Broodmother as built was just not viable, because basically the problem is that spiderlings fall to almost any form of AoE, either in an ability or in terms of cleave or anything. Leshrac in particular should be able to clear anything that Broodmother brings in terms of even a huge nest of spiderlings, and the rest of her abilities aren't that strong for a semi-carry. So my sense of it is that that's not a great pick, and that somebody else who is a pusher would have been a better pick, but we'll see. Sven rounds out EG, and well, I'm kind of curious. Yeah, the fact that Jo is playing Sven is giving me a little bit of cause for thinking that Sven is going to be played as a support Sven. Jo often plays support for EG. And I have not seen a very successful support Sven. I know that in theory it's possible to play him that way because he has a stun, but honestly the kind of carry metagame that developed around Sven I think makes a lot more sense of his abilities, and he doesn't do that well in a support role. Of course, it could be that he's just going to be the number 2 with Lifestealer being the number 1, and that they're going to treat Bounty Hunter as a support. And especially after the nerf to track, where it doesn't reduce armor, and Bounty Hunter has a harder time just picking people off solo 1v1, like basically like Clinks. Not that he has a very hard time with squishy casters, but he just can't do it quite as well. They might be playing him as the number 3 role, and that would make a little better sense. Anyway, Fear going to be playing Lifestealer for EG. Melk playing Enigma, he usually does that, if I'm recalling correctly. Jo for Sven, and Beatish Chuckles for, on the Leshy, and Demon playing Bounty Hunter. And on Team Liquid side, we have TC playing the Gyrocopter, Mike88, or just Mike, I'm just going to call him Mike on Shadow Demon, Enchantress on being played by Fluff. Who else we've got here? And Korak playing Neek's Assassin, and Bulba playing Broodmom. A little bit of friendliness here, and I think we might see a little bit of an early encounter. I wonder if they're gonna see Fear, who's almost certainly setting up for a safe lane. I don't think so though, but we'll see. Anyway, looking good here so far. Oh, this is interesting. A development we've been seeing a lot in these European style programs, and it's been happening both in raid call and in the defense, is the kind of abandonment of a there's a mix up here. He shadow walked, and he has Gyro picks up the illusions, but Bounty Hunter pulls off. Anyway, what I was saying is we've seen a lot of the abandoning the safe lane to the enemy carry. So Lifestealer basically solo versus Gyrocopter being solo here, and it gets interrupted by ganks every once in a while, but most of the action tends to happen in the mid with the supports ganking each other and occasionally teaming up to gank the carry. This Broodmom pick is basically an attempt to disrupt that metagame. Fear is very used to, and anybody who plays Lifestealer is going to be used to basically getting a free farm lane. And the basic idea here, see, it's playing out almost exactly as I'm saying. Broodmom brought a ton of regen. Of course, Lifestealer brought some regen, but I'm sure he wasn't really expecting to have to use a ton of it just to stay in lane. And Broodmom's basically going to harass Lifestealer and not give him a free lane. Of course, the price to pay for that is that they don't have 3 supports here on their safe side, just 1. But Gyrocopter will still have his free farm. These 2 supports will still jungle, and that makes a little bit better sense of the Enchantress pick. It's going to be a lot easier to pick with 2 strong to jungle, for these 2 supports to jungle, if they have 2 strong creeps on the part of Enchantress, while Broodmom, who might be some other kind of support, like say a Windrunner or something, running around there also jungling with them, will instead be here making Fear's life a little bit more difficult. In fact, if Fear doesn't get vision, he can make his life very difficult. Between spiders who are invisible and will only pop out to deny or steal last hits, or to just suddenly attack him and then pop back into invisibility, this is going to turn into a very irritating lane for Fear. And I'm not sure whether the idea is to try to get Fear to overreact and call for ganks and cut down the efficiency of the other side of his team, or perhaps to force a purchase of vision wards. Wouldn't be surprised. Yes, there's the vision wards. And Melk drops the sentry. And of course, Bulba knows that Melk is not just coming here to hang out. So he has to know, for all intents and purposes, that he's visible right now. And if he didn't know that, then Lifestealer picking off one of his Spiderlings was proof enough. Now this is going to become a little more difficult for Bulba because the Spiderlings are worth money. So as Lifestealer, actually, they're basically minor creeps that Lifestealer can sometimes one or two shot. So it's going to become a little harder for Bulba to cut down on Fear's farming because he effectively has a ton more targets. And notice the intense micro in moving up, down, around. He's basically trying to prevent that from happening. Meanwhile, looking at the top lane, whoa, Shadow Demon. Oh, they came down here to pick off Enigma. Broodmom must have said, oh, Enigma's in his jungle, but I haven't seen any sign of the other supports. And Fluff and Mike came down here and scored first blood. And here's Lifestealer. Open wounds on Enchantress. It looked like Enchantress was going to get away, but no chance. Leshrac hits the stun, but the disruption is timed to let her escape. And now she's being chased, but she gets focused down by Leshrac. Shadow Demon still in there, and he manages to take Leshrac back. Oh, that was a fun exchange. It's too bad for Leshrac. I think if Leshrac hadn't taken that hit, EG would have clearly won that exchange. But now that he did, it's not so certain. And now we're back to the same thing. One thing I'll be curious to see is whether Broodmom bothers to counter ward here. Now, she's built up quite a crew of Spiderlings, so I'm a little surprised that she's not using them for a little bit better scouting vision. But you have to note that there is a ward here, and it's a fairly good aggressive ward, and it's basically just watching Melk go about his business. I would not be at all surprised, guys, to see another attempt at Melk. Oh, and maybe here comes the attempt at Melk. Or, no, this is just actively harassing and blocking the creep camp. Now Melk knows that basically any time Broodmom can invisibly walk from here to here without any trouble whatsoever. And basically the idea is that Broodmom is invisible for a little bit after she leaves her webs, so she can basically crawl over here and bring a spawn of broodlings. And Melk now just cannot farm that comfortably without thinking that, as is happening now, a horde of Spiderlings is out there to harass him. And even if they're not there to harass him, one thing that they can do is when he's trying to farm this camp is steal the last hits. It's kind of like Bounty Hunter stealing the Aegis. They'll just come out of invisibility and smack one of those creeps and he'll lose the last hit on it, which is really a bad deal because Broodmom then gets free last hits that Melk spent hit points basically on the creeps trying to bring them down. Let's take a look at the last hits and denies and try to see the sense of the situation here. Oh, there was a jump at mid. I'm sorry, guys. I'm missing all this. Will Leshy get away? I think Leshy gets away. But they managed to pick off Sven in the mid. This Fluff is doing an amazing job as an Enchantress. She's already gotten a couple of kills. She's really high on the last hits counter. And Gyrocopter, TC at the top, of course, it's not to be... basically, if you're a Gyro and you don't get every last hit, you know, there's something pretty wrong. All of his abilities, his animation, pretty decent base damage. All of these combine to make somebody who really should not have much trouble at all getting all the last hits in their lane, especially if they're uninterrupted. Bounty Hunter being here is a little bit of a surprise, but I think it's part of the same kind of response to Broodmom must have been afraid there for a moment, but she's got an immense crowd of Spiderlings, so she could have put some serious harass on Fear if he had tried. Bounty Hunter's here basically to try to make the farming a little more painful for Gyro. I don't know how effective that is. I think Bounty Hunter might actually be more useful trying to gank the Broodmom and functioning as an extra support, but that's not what we're seeing. Fluff and Mike are kind of roving Ichi's jungle. This is pretty bold. I mean, Enchantress is better situated than many to pull it off because she gets the big creeps. Oh, looks like they finally jumped on Melk. And boom, easy and smooth. Man, Liquid is making these ganks just look like they're no thing. They just walk into the jungle and kill somebody, and hey, that's just what we do. I'm not liking it. 5 to 1. A couple of early kills in one direction or another usually aren't too meaningful at this level of play. But once you start talking about 4 or 5 kill difference, that's a pretty significant swing in gold. Not to mention it means that somebody who basically hasn't been in a lane, like Fluff. Look at this. She's got the boots and the ring of protection. That's all fine, but she's sitting on 1,200 gold. That's for a support in the first 10 minutes of the game. That's just an obscene amount of gold to be sitting at. And of course, Neeks, who's basically getting to farm the mid, is doing similarly well with the double damage rune and boots. And Gyro, of course, no question that Gyro is just doing wonderfully in the farming. So far, things are looking pretty rosy for Liquid. All of their folks are getting farm or free farm or ganks. Fear is not looking nearly as good as he would. He's still got a pretty high creep score, but they managed to hit him, just kill him right here. And now that horde of spiderlings, without Fear to cut them off, is just going to go down. EG with the early push. And I would say that Liquid, sorry, I said earlier EG with the push, I meant Liquid. I'd say that Liquid is just putting in a masterful performance so far. 7-2. The Broodmom is getting farm. Broodmom's not very viable in large part because it's so difficult for her to get really farmed up. Any decent AoE counter to her spiderlings just makes more farm for the other person. But with Bulbous Micro and good gank support from his supports, he's making a fair deal of money. And I see something on the courier for him, and that's the boots in Hand of Midas. If you let Broodmom just stay here and with a Hand of Midas build herself like a carry, we could see some pretty fearful number 2 role Broodmom. Of course, number 1 role being Gyro here. Milk and Demon sizing up the top lane. They're kind of killing time here since they're not getting last hits. So I really wonder if they're trying to set up a gank here. Maybe talking about the possibility of it, but no, they're just laning together against the Gyro. That strikes me as weird. Milk should be somewhere in this jungle, counter warding it, and then perhaps doing better jungling. That ward has really paid off. I think they got the early kills on Milk, in large part because of it, and it's kind of scared him off from being a normal Enigma jungling, getting his Blink Dagger or his his mechanism first, hopefully, and then his Blink Dagger. Instead, he's still early on the Soul Ring and boots, and still kind of playing a little bit more timid game than we'd like. Anyway, returning to the bot lane, because for all intents and purposes, I think this bot battle is really going to determine a lot of the momentum of the match. 3 of EG are smoked here and ready to just jump Fear as soon as the line gets pulled back ever so slightly. Fear's got to be skittish. It's just too much land area that he doesn't have sight into, and he knows he can probably tag a couple of last hits and run back past the tower for it, but Broodmom is commandingly taking this lane.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Korak picking off Enigma here, and now they're gonna pick off Neeks in response because yeah, a little bit of a push on the top tower. Goes down without a bang. I guess goes down with a bang, but I really mean to say almost no resistance whatsoever. And Mike and Fluff are just continuing to walk back here. A counter push at the mid, EG. These towers are just going down without much resistance here. And of course, Leshrac with a couple of levels of Diabolic Edict, which hits structures as well. He's going to be quite fearful. Neeks ports in. Immediately tries to tag Leshrac. The call down from Gyro, but it misses. Jo tries to port out, but gets tagged out by Fluff. Now they're chasing. Broodmom's got it. Broodmom's got it in front of Leshrac. Now are they gonna continue this and try to get Lifestealer, or contra? Is Lifestealer gonna try to get them? Lifestealer jumps on Broodmom. Demon here. Broodmom's trying to get away. She's still invisible. She's trying to find a spot that she's invisible, but clearly Fluff jumps in and forces the kill. Now Broodmom trying to return to the bottom lane. We might see, there's several of Liquid here. We might see a continued push at the bottom. Or are they going to jump Roche? Can they take Roche? Yes, I think we're going to see a Roche attempt. Fluff is just taking so much damage so fast. She's got a couple of Urn hits and a Wand hit, but this is kind of ugly. The Spiderlings are going to be the major factor here. I think they're going to hope for Broodbomb's Spiderlings to tank some of the Roche attacks. Broodbomb heals up almost completely with her ulti. Which is really nice for attacking Roche because you do 40% lifesteal and extra bonus damage, so you can just suck a big guy like Roche dry, and they have Roche without too much trouble, and that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad for EG. Liquid is just looking dominating here. 8-kill lead, and they're smoked in. I think they're going to do the fight. EG must be suspicious. They're trying to set up for a mid-fight, and then here's the first hit on Fluff. Leshrac just gets focused down. That took no time. The call down was almost gratuitous. Now the mana burn on Jo. Jo's been slowed. Jo gets picked off by Fluff. Now, wow, Korok isn't gonna be able to finish that chase. It looks like we're gonna calm action down. 2 kills for Liquid. Didn't really. Again, they make it look like they're hardly breaking a sweat. Broodmom back at the bottom, gathering up another army of Spiderlings, I think, just to continue jungling bottom side. And I may have to revise my earlier opinion. With this Hand of Midas and with the proper supports, Bulba's just been fearful. She's got Milk trapped. There goes her ulti. Milk's trying to run, but no. Oh, beautiful, beautiful gank. Broodmom is just dominating Milk here. And I think that's really the dominant theme of this lineup. Lifestealer really didn't do anything to cut down on Broodmom. The couple of ganks from Fluff and Korok basically scared Milk off from jungling properly. Milk has been totally underbuilt, and at this point, every time he goes back into the jungle, he's just going to be killed by whoever of Liquid is there. Meanwhile, Broodmom is actually going to become a scary Broodmom. 2,600 bucks in the bank. She hasn't been killed yet, I don't think. Has she? No, she's running 405. Sorry, 205. Shadow Demon running 405. And that's pretty bad when, on the contrary side, Lifestealer is 0, 1, and 1. So, things not looking good for EG, to put it mildly. Their only real hope is the fact that at some point, Lifestealer really can get out of control, and he's got his armlet, and he's got his power treads, and a really good team fight could put EG ahead if Lifestealer were to take 4 or 5 kills, for instance. I don't see it happening, folks, though. Not with Broodmom playing cautiously now, having scored all the advantage they need. 11 kill advantage on the part of Liquid. I think this fight is Liquid's to lose, and they don't look like a team that's planning on losing it. A push on the bottom tower here. Gyro giving a little bit of chase. Gyro chasing. There's the homing missile. Is he gonna go? He seems a little overcommitted here. I think they could turn. Lifestealer jumps on Shadow Demon, but here's the stun from Neeks. On the other side, Gyro runs in, pulls the call down, but the call down is a whiff. Oh, that's bad. Broodmom chasing down Jo. Here's a scene you won't see too often. A Sven running scared from a Broodmom, but here we have it. And there's the kill. Meanwhile, down here, Korok is trying to chase down Leshrac, but I think he's not going to make it in time. And the rest of Liquid is kind of teamed up in the jungle. Hold on one sec. Sorry about that, I had to respond to somebody on Steam. Now, Liquid has gathered up a bit of a mid-push. EG's ready for them, though. Fear and Milk hanging out on the top of the hill. Leshy and Sven here. This doesn't look like it would be a great engagement for Liquid. They've definitely got the manpower to do it, but EG is just too well prepared for this, especially with Leshrac's stun. Leshrak's heavy AoE and the possibility of a really bad black hole right next to the tower from Milk. Liquid's got to be thinking that they can push this, but there's strategically better times to do it. Meanwhile, Neek's Assassin is taking the opportunity to pick up a couple of jungle creeps. And really, TC is just going to pick things off, basically free farm the creeps that are coming up while they wait for somebody to be out of position. And here's the play that needs to be happening. Broodmom makes a jump for it. Korra comes down, pushes off Leshrak. Now there's an attempt, there's dust, and boom, Broodmom's got it. Several of EG are down, now they can do this mid-push. They're chasing down Lifestealer, Gyro's going for him, Gyro's got the barrage, and boom! Oh, Fluff. Fluff has gotten every kill in this game, but that's part of the thing about Impetus. If you hit from long range, it's really worth a lot. And here's TC, I think, trying to actually get the Aegis. Yes, he is trying to get himself Aegised. Meanwhile, Broodmom has dispatched that bottom tower very easily. She has an Orchid. This is a free 20-minute Orchid on a lane that she was against Lifestealer. And you just know things can't be going well for the Lifestealer involved if he's getting out-farmed by a Broodmom. And out-farmed he is. Literally on the last hits, but also on the kills and deaths. Excuse me, guys. Meanwhile, Gyrocopter's doing well as well, and of course Enchantress, even though she doesn't look like she has quite as high a last hit count, 65, really, if you account for the fact that she's gotten a ton of kills, is right up there, 3,500. She must be thinking, wow, I didn't even plan on making this kind of money in the game, so she's conferring with her teammates saying, guys, I have 3,500, what am I building? They could have her go Oggs for the super impetus, or more likely they'll have her go Sheep Stick or Orchid or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see an Orchid actually on Fluff. The more Orchids the merrier, basically. The more people you can silence in a big team fight, especially if there's a couple of casters like Enigma and Leshrak, you can really cut down a team. EG going for a smoke gank, it's the entire team. I'm not surprised that this is happening. They're basically losing and they need to pick off a couple of heroes for Liquid and counter push. The towers, they're down a lot of towers. It's 1 to 4 at the moment, so they're down on gold by that metric. They're down on gold by the kills metric. I won't even pull it up because basically Liquid has just made so much more gold than them that it's not even worth looking at. Not even to mention the fact that Broodmom has been farming a Midas the entire time, and a Midas, and Lifestealer hasn't. So this is well past the profit margin point. You need about somewhere between 8 to 10 minutes, I forget exactly, to start making a hand of Midas just pour in pure profits. And that point has long been passed for Broodmom. So she just makes more money than everybody. Not to mention that the Spiderlings make it very easy to do a lot of farming very fast. And not to mention she can basically AFK a creep wave with the Spiderlings and be pretty assured of getting almost every last hit. Now she just has this enormous creep wave to push the bottom tower. And EG didn't really make anything happen with being in the jungle here. And now the fight's going to start, but Jayo's going to get picked off by TC, and this is a bad opening to this fight. Milk is out of position. Milk's trying to run, but I think he's going to get caught off. The call down is here. The call down's going to miss Lifestealer. Lifestealer's going to try to take TC on the way, but he's outnumbered so badly, 4 to 1. He's dead, and he almost certainly knows it. Now he's going to try to run. He's going to try to infest a creep or something, or just get away, but the homing missile is there. The homing missile misses because of the creep, but all of Liquid is with this creep. They're going to deny it as quickly as humanly possible and force him to pop out. No, he pops out by himself. That was probably a bad call. Now he's gotten disrupted. There's the impetus, and boom, he gets focused down. Meanwhile, at the bottom tower, Broodmom is taking care of the tower. There's a port down. Sven is just not capable of taking Broodmom. I think he's going to feed here, in fact. And 3, 2, 1, boom! Fear, and there's the GG, guys. GG, go to the next game in the set. And of course, since this is one of the losers brackets finals, there will be another match. So EG just calls it. Wow. Broodmom for the win. Broodmom and frankly Enchantress. And this is kind of great. You love to see a pair of unconventional picks be the definitive picks that turn the game around. And frankly, Enchantress scoring a bazillion kills and Broodmom just pushing the nuts off of Lifestealer and managing to outfarm him in every relevant sense has basically pushed the game. So I have been very loudly proven wrong. At least Broodmom is viable with the correct support. The correct support being basically the Enchantress Nyx Assassin team coming in and ganking that jungle and helping her kill off Lifestealer a couple of times. But yeah. Wow. Liquid 25-3, a convincing ass-kicking of EG. Anyway, this has been Blatant filling in for Feeder Noob. If you like this cast, of course, I occasionally guest cast on her channel, but really, you should be watching Feeder's cast because they're better and she's awesome, and yeah. Subscribe to the channel, like if you like this. If you didn't like it, this is a pretty short game, so I understand you sticking around, and I'm glad you at least tried to. Oh wow, looking at some of these statistics right before I go, Broodmom, 648 GPM, 845 experience per minute. She's level 19. Most of EG has not yet hit level 10. That's worse than most pub stomps you ever see. Anyway, this has been Blatant filling in for Feeder Noob. See you later, folks.